super excited. A couple of announcements from Goka. First, non-water beverages are not allowed in the gallery space. So if you have something like a coffee or a soda or something like that, if you could just leave it in that like open area over there, it'll be safe. She promised that she wouldn't spit in it, so you guys were good there. It was very kind of her. The next announcement, as you can tell, we're in a very artistic space right now, and our one big request is respect the art. And so when you're walking around, don't lean on walls, don't lean on art. We have there's podiums around the place. Don't leave like water bottles on top of them because somebody worked really hard on them and poured their life and soul into the piece. So if you could just respect the art and enjoy the art because it's absolutely amazing. So with those two announcements done, let's get started.
Hi.
Hello.
Are y'all ready for some poetry?
Yay! No.
That was not good.
That was horrible.
Are you ready for some poetry?
Yeah, no.
Okay, so I'm Lydia,
And I'm Alex.
and we're awesome.
Yes, we are.
So the first thing we're going to talk about tonight is you are at an event called Poetry for the People event. What that means is you're going to be hearing, and a lot of you are going to be sharing poetry that is written by the people for the people. And because of that, we don't react to this kind of poetry in a normal poetry reading manner. Because at a normal poetry reading, you have the little golf claps. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Oh, that was superb. Oh.
At these poetry readings, you can react one of 4 ways. First of all, if you find something you really love, you do the poet grunt. Second option, you do the poet snap.
Everybody snap. Snap your fingers.
Third of all, if you hear a poem that you just don't necessarily agree with, we don't boo. We might hiss a little bit, but this is an uncensored space. We don't tolerate hate speech or anything, but it is uncensored. So be prepared, you may hear a little cursing. That's okay, just a little. And the fourth option is if you hear a poem that just moves you beyond your soul and you just can't even deal with it anymore. You just pick up your shoe and you throw it lightly at the poet because we don't want to hurt anybody, especially if they wrote that good a poem.
We also accept tears as tribute to the poet. Tears are always welcome. I know I have given many of the poets that are speaking tonight lots of my tears. So they bottle them up and wear them as a gift, so it's awesome.
So, that's how to react to poetry. Do we all understand? Are we all good with that?
Yeah. Oh, they're so hipster.
Right? I love it. So, we're going to read a quick poem by June Jordan, who invented the Poetry for the People framework for the class. So she started this, I'm not sure, when did she start this? 91. Thank you, Katie. So we're going to read this very quickly, and then we're going to have Katie Harrington come up and introduce what the class was all about for us this semester.
And also, just real quick, I just want to also just thank Goka one more time.
Yes.
Let's just give a big round of applause for Goka for letting us use your space. Absolutely amazing. I don't know if this is like the first time that Poetry for People was able to use the space, but we're really lucky to be there. So, first time. What up?
And also thank you to Professor Ortega. If you turn around, it's the beautiful woman in the yellow shirt. She's been a fantastic captain for this semester, and she's been a real inspiration to a lot of us. So just one more round of applause for her.
And now for the poetry. These poems, they are things that I do in the dark, reaching for you, whoever you are, and are you ready?
These words, they are stories in the water, running away. These skeletal lines, they are desperate arms for my longing and love.
I am a stranger, learning to worship the strangers around me, whoever you are, whoever I may become. Now let's give a big warm welcome to Katie Harrington as she opens up Poetry for the People.
Yeah, so basically, I'm just here to kind of give a little bit of a rundown of what Poetry for the People is and what kind of values it espouses. I think that some people have a conception in their minds of what they think that means, so maybe the definition will line up with your belief about what it is, maybe not, who knows. So basically, like Alex and Lydia had said, it was started by June Jordan in 1991. She is was a professor at Berkeley in California, I believe. She's sadly no longer with us, but her words have reached many. Her poetry is amazing, so if you haven't checked her out, I would strongly recommend it. So basically, Poetry for the People kind of emphasizes putting poetry back in the hands of the people, and maybe taking it a little bit out of the academic context that so many people seem to think that it can only exist in. So basically, with that being said, it's about taking it out of the traditional stodgy stage, Shakespeare and all that stuff, and putting it into the hands of the people and making it more accessible to them. That's basically one of the guiding principles of Poetry for the People. It also wants to redefine what kinds of poetry should actually be valued within the academy, basically breaking away from that kind of sonnet tradition, or maybe some of that really, I don't know, some of the romantic poetry or anything like that. Not that those poems don't have value, they do and they're gorgeous, but a lot of people think that that is all that poetry can be, and Poetry for the People seeks to kind of redefine that and kind of say, no, that's not all of what poetry is, right? And you don't have to be like a fancy writer to write poems. So basically, there's a really huge emphasis on diversity, which is something that kind of sets it apart. Poetry for the People believes that everyone can have a voice and should have a voice. It's not just old white dudes, like has kind of been traditionally the case. It's for everyone, all walks of life, all beliefs, everything like that. And as such, it's very diverse, as you might imagine, which is great. And that's really important about the whole, putting it back in the hands of all the people, not just some of the people. It wants to give everyone the power to find their own individual poetic voice, right? It's about empowerment, it's about helping people see that this is a creative act and that it is your voice, and your voice has a right to be out there and has a right to be heard. So June Jordan kind of had this quote she was the one who came up with the project, of course, and so she had said this quote talking about what she believes poetry should be. So she said, "Poetry names what has been silenced and allows us to understand and articulate our connections to one another and to the world we inhabit." So that's one of the really guiding principles of Poetry for the People as articulated by its creator, which I thought was kind of pretty. And just a closing note, I want everyone to know, regardless of what you've been taught, regardless of what you think you know about poetry, it is all of yours. It belongs to all of you, okay? Everyone can have poetry. Everyone can be a poet. And I think that's super important. Everyone can and should have a poetic voice. So whatever you think you know or thought you knew, maybe throw it out the window, so.
Thank you one more time to Katie. There is a little bit more seating up front. I believe the MCs are going to stand. So there's going to be 3 seats up here, 2 over here. So just if you'd like to sit down,
Hop a squat,
sit.
because it's a long event, and I know my legs are gonna get tired. Yeah. So you guys sit for me. Okay.
So we would like to introduce, we have an activity for you tonight. It's very exciting. And Alex is going to read the write-up for that.
Yeah, thanks to Tammy, by the way. She is the one who gave me all the information on this activity. They put a lot of work into this. Okay, so in honor of Earth Day, which is today, I will point it out, by the way, we have created a poetry. Our class would like to first thank Sarah and Lindsay for creating this tree. They put a lot of heart and soul and work into making this tree, and it's a really cool event. So basically, claps. This is a really heartfelt event, and so we're just going to ask you to thank and love everybody around you, so it's great. So that's how our class has been.
Lots of hugs.
Lots of hugs. Anyway, this evening at the end of our class poet presentations, we will be having an open mic. However, if you do not feel comfortable performing at the open mic, which I bet a lot of you aren't, we are going to be passing out these leaves. Because the point of Poetry for the People,
if you do want to sign up for the open mic and you have not signed up yet, please go see Tegan right over there along the way. And and sign up for the open mic.
So anyway, what is on these leaves? Let me tell you what's on these leaves. Stuff. What you're going to do, because the point of poetry for the people is bringing the poetry to the people and making it a community event. So what we'll be doing is you guys write 1 to 2, or in my case, 1, 2, 3, 7 lines of a poem that you know, or a poem that's in your heart, or something like that. Write it on the leaves. You have the entire evening. We're going to be having a bunch of a multi-voice poem and other individual poets doing this too. But you write it down on the leaf, and then we're going to ask you guys to read it out loud to us, so you can have the poetry of you guys voiced as well, because it's not just us.
If you do not feel comfortable reading, please pass it to the person beside you. If that person does not feel comfortable reading,
Tough cookies.
they have to read it.
And then what we're going to do is we're going to place these leaves on the beautifully constructed tree that's right over there, past this block of beautiful art, and we will watch our poetry grow and flourish. We believe that poetry is a community effort, so even if you may not want to participate in the open mic portion of the evening, we ask that everyone participate in writing and our poetry. Because again, the purpose of this tree is to show that poetry is not exclusive to what most people consider actual poets, and we want everyone to see that. As we will contribute to our communities in some form, we can also contribute to the creation of poetry. By creating this poem and sharing out loud, we are making it ours. We are here to prove that poetry is truly for the people. So we have ours. They're passing them out right now. We have pens.
I would like to speak about the tree and the art that's right behind the tree. So if you could just turn your head really quickly. Oh, sorry. If you can't see it, if you'd like to stand up and look, no one will steal your seat, but you don't have to. So the tree is recycled and reclaimed. They found this tree and they were able to bring it here and set it up for us, and that was really awesome of them, and it was a great symbol of Earth Day. And I would like to draw your attention to the art that's right behind it. They're tree rubbings from some of the trees that were burned down during the Waldo Canyon fire. And I think most of us remember 2 years ago when that happened, and I feel like it's really powerful to see the juxtaposition of the tree rubbings, and then to just see our tree from this class grow, and that's very exciting that was able to happen that way. So poetry.
Poetry, guys. Again, you guys have, you can be inspired by poems that you are hearing tonight. Like I said, we're going to have some really, really awesome poets for the evening.
Well, you can even write your own poetry.
Exactly.
So there's no limit to what you can write.
Because poetry's awesome, guys. So awesome. Okay. All right. Okay. Next for the evening. Next for the evening, we're going to have this multi-voice poem. In our course, we were all required to work on a multi-voice poem, and we all realized that that's a lot harder than it sounds. Getting a bunch of voices together and become one unified unit is a very difficult task to do, but these 4 ladies did an excellent job at it. Because one thing you learn, at least I learned, is you write a poem, you write your heart and soul, and then you realize you suck. Y'all really suck. And then you keep writing anyway. And sometimes you make something really, really brilliant. And so now I'd like to welcome to the mic Emily Hollenbach, Jacqueline Nelson, Katie Harrington, and Lydia Mulligan for their multi-voice poem.
My body hasn't been my body since the scale weighed me for my self-worth. Ever since being good became eating a carrot rather than being a decent human being. My body quit on me, walking up the most beautiful mountain on the incline of Pikes Peak, deprived of sugar, the day I chose hunger over adventure, the first time I blacked out. My body never wanted this. It wants to taste, to move, to love. Not strict guidelines and rules, a yo-yo diet of yes and no, leading to binges of self-hatred, cramming food down my throat until it no longer tastes good, like every bite's a battle, every bite's the last time. Never again, I tell my body, never again.
My body, My body is a battlefield, plastered top to bottom with product placement and shame. Your guns and legislation playing poker with my parts. My body is not your playground, meant for your hands, arms, and legs, swinging together, ripping into flesh. My body is a temple, written all over with tongues, speaking prayers to their deity of choice, hissing soliloquies of verse. My body is your church. Walk up aisles and pucker your lips with prayers so sweet, I'll say amen and goddamn to the rafters. My body.
My body is not like a song. My body is the word you love to read but could never pronounce. My body is the side of town your mother always told you to avoid. My body is the pie cooling on the window that burns your mouth when you take a too soon lustful bite. My body is the riptide that carries you away on your first trip to the beach. My body is the serpent in Eden, reminding you that sin lies in the space between your hand and my skin. And believe me when I tell you I never wanted to corrupt you. But I guess that's what happens when a woman finds strength in her body and refuses to let anyone put hands over her eyes when she looks in the mirror and likes what she sees. My body is your cross to bear, and I will be a point of contention for you. Your certainty falling away like all my clothes, trepidation whispering your touch all over me. They tell me that a woman's body is dangerous, so come touch my nuclear waste. Feel the burn of my neutron core beneath this genderqueer veneer, and remember how dangerous I am.
You lay there or kneel here or stand there, so focused on the prize at the end like a carnival game, not directing your attention on everything I am rationalizing in my senseless head. Am I relishing in this moment so much with my eyes fastened shut that I forget that they are rolling back in my head, looking like a body in full seizure mode? As I crawl atop you and your eyes as your wild eyes adore this position, I am zoned in on my abs, or the absence of my abs. In a panic so you won't notice, I shove my tits in your face. My tits. While you're pumping away, all I see are these blobs called tits. Why can't nipples stay hard all the time? Because these wilted petals on my chest just hang sadly. Smacking my ass, it doesn't make me want it more. In fact, please stop. Those red marks are all I think you think about. When I say I want it from behind, that means I want your eyes fixated on the back of my head, not on my ass, not on my thighs. Your eyes must remain directly on the roots of my hair on the back of my head. When I climax, I try to resemble the voice of a racing porn star in hopes to excite you more, but all that comes out is a shriek of a T-Rex losing a long battle.
Your body and my body are not hate crimes. Your body and my body are intoned rhymes, housing hearts, lungs, and bellies, our lovers' hands and lips. Our bodies are banners that gather bodies, queer, straight, transgendered, or not, to the place where all bodies are beautiful
and healthy
And dangerous.
And sexy.
and whole.
Sorry, I got excited, guys. All right. Yeah, give it up one more time. 'Cause that was All right. And so now we're going to move on to our individual class poets. One of the magical things about poetry for the people is we realize that poetry goes beyond just spoken word or words on the page. It also implants itself into our everyday lives through music. And so right now we have this unbelievably talented musician in our class, and he wrote the song himself, and first he read it as a poem to us, and then he said, oh, by the way, I sing this, and we're like, what? Do it. So I'd like you all to give a warm welcome to Barrett Booth.
Thank you. Thanks for letting me do this. Yes, one thing about this class that has kind of been helping me to realize is navigating this walk between poetry and music, that it's the line's a lot thinner than we think. So I'm going to forego the mic as well. This song's called Love Can Wait. Thank you. Yeah, this is it, actually.
song. So you believe me that you wanna leave. Oh, 'cause oh, I don't wanna be a fool for you. Though you love me for it. Oh, and oh, I don't wanna break my rules for you. Oh, no, though you love me. But love can't wait. I know you've had it rough, babe, but we've still got options. You told me to be honest, babe. Yeah, well, you should be ashamed, 'cause I'm a tease and you're a crutch. Oh, I'm a tease and you're a crutch. So you believe me. Oh, when I say you better leave. Oh, 'cause oh, I don't wanna be a fool for you. Oh, no, though you love me for it. Oh, yeah. Oh, I don't wanna break my rules for you. Oh, no, though you love me. But love can't wait. So you believe me that you wanna leave. Oh, 'cause oh, 'cause thank you.
Please keep it going for a minute. That was awesome. All right, two really quick announcements before we call up our next poet. There is an open mic sheet right over there on the table with lovely Miss Tegan. So please sign up. And the other one is, I see a couple leaves on the tree. We are actually going to read those as a group, so please just hold on to that until after all the class poets have gone. Okay? So real quickly, can you please help me give a warm welcome to Miss Taryn Miller.
I can feel what is unsaid between us. It's there, attempting to rise up like a bubble and pop our safe atmosphere. I always push it down, but it implodes. I wonder if you notice. It happens when we've been sharing a high level of privacy, and when the conversation takes a rare turn towards emotional subjects, instead of staying on the well-worn path of intellectual debate. It's when I feel so close to you that our breath mingles, and our words combine to form a baptism of new energy. I've hinted at it, implied it, and have always choked on the words whenever I thought of saying it out loud. I think of the last time we talked about it, when I went crazy and you couldn't follow. In theory, you understood perfectly, but you were not able to apply that theory to my situation, and I was left to solve the problem on my own.
The way I would try to solve my math problems as a kid, long after my dad tried to explain how. When you mentioned that you had experienced something similar, being as vague as possible, offering a painting that I could barely make out the shapes in, I leaned closer, trying to detect which colors were in the shadows. It's on these nights that I consider reversing our mutual amnesia. I have an urge to take us back to the nights when we were 13, too confused and terrified to make sense of the scars on our bodies, but I never let myself. I think we've come too far to let ourselves sink back into adolescence. And I talk about these memories as concepts, broad generalizations that apply to everyone but us. We work as academics, turning trauma into something that can be clinically studied. And shame is just a word, not a worldview. We take a step back, or maybe 2 or 3. We have a distance and we are above it. It's the only way we know how to interact with it together, but we're still interacting with it. Thank you.
All right. Everyone happy? I feel like the energy in that last poem was like really good. It's like we're strong. All right, so next up to the mic. Never mind, I'm just gonna remain being short, I'm sorry. Next up to the mic is a really talented poet in our class. She's blown me away like a couple of times now. So give it up for Katie Harrington.
So those were definitely 2 really tough things to follow. So hopefully you won't judge me wicked too much. So this poem is called RTM. Broken love is red, and it returns to you, unfolding out of my skin, trying to get back to you. The knife like your lover's hand, the cut like the heat of your touch. My broken heartbeat squeezing your name, keeping time with my sadness. And I'm afraid of the nightmares, but I'm terrified of the sweet dreams. Ruined chances settle on me like a blanket of scars, so I incise new chances to think of you. A shard, a piece of broken plate, anything to feel closer to you. And I sacrifice you to appease my own doubt, a hungry reflection that finds peace in my ghost-shined face and my swallowed I love yous. So here I am, taking up space on this page for all the space I lost in your heart, and writing a poem to replace the poem in my whisper breath whenever I said your name. The words burn in the back of my throat, because to say, I love you, I need you, I'm sorry, doesn't even come close.
Katie, that was awesome. So are y'all impressed yet? No. That is not loud enough. Are you impressed yet? Yeah! All right, this next poet we're really excited about, Miss Megan Dupre.
Am I tall enough? Slightly. Damn, being short. Somewhere between your blatant disregard for my interests and being dragged out of the shower by my hair, I stopped loving you. While you were nose deep in yourself, you were oblivious, and I festered. I festered in the years of abuse and a hatred for you, and in that frothing mass, I planned my escape. I gathered not just my things, but I gathered the bits of me you had broken and started putting myself back together. I knew then, and I know to this day, that you will never understand. I know you will never think or admit that you did anything wrong, but I will never forgive you for any of it, because Stockholm Syndrome is not a good way to build a quality life with another person. You may have convinced me that I was inferior to you in every way, but I stopped listening to a single word you said the day you broke your promise to never lay a hand on me. And shortly after that, I stopped caring entirely. I finally realized that you were just one of the hypocritical scumbags I had been warned about. I'm sure you never noticed that you had broken me, beaten me, and thrown me into a cage. You treated me worse than your dog and still thought I was going to obediently follow you through the rest of our lives. You took advantage that at some point everyone will stop fighting until they can see a light again. I blame you for what you never saw because you always looked away. To this day, I have remained close-lipped about the details the way you always wanted, and probably will until the day I die. Some demons deserve to stay hidden, and some skeletons belong in the closet. And you know what? It isn't even baggage I drag with me anymore. I am finally free. Someone once told me that you can either forgive or forget. And you can't do both. You can bet I can tell what I did with you. And then there's him. There are many reasons I love him, from his intoxicating scent to his smile, which shines bright as a harvest moon. But most of all, I love his eyes. Where mine are brown, his are blue. Light where mine are dark, curious where mine are cynical. They exist in contrast to one another, the duality to make a balanced whole. His eyes are deep pools of the sky which surround Pikes Peak on the clearest day in Colorado. They fit him so well. He's a dreamer after all. He soars high and has the kind of drive that we all search for. And then there's me. With eyes the color of wet dirt so easily you get lost in their earthy piss. They belong to a pessimist after all. It makes sense that they're so blasé. The first day our eyes met was like being at the conception of the globe and atmosphere when the earth first met the sky. Together we will recreate this life and write our own love story. We will make it as beautiful as the first sunrise or as breathtaking as the horizon. Our two souls found each other in this crazy world, two parts of a whole, meant to go through forever, side by side.
One of the really great things that I really loved about this class, really, was the fact that you find yourself latching onto people who are around you, and you read their poetry, and you experience their poetry, you love it, and then occasionally you hear from a poet you've never heard the entire semester, and it blows you away. And I didn't actually ever read Megan's poetry until like last night when she said it to me, and it just blew me away immediately. And the same thing kind of goes with this next poet. She performed a poem in class and just hit me hard. So let's give a round of applause to Autumn.
Think about the children. It's what we always say. It's what the public always says. Pointing our collective finger at the books, teachers, rules, and schools, not ever considering that we, the parents, and the public, are also the ones to take blame. Think about the children. How about we actually help the children? How about we actually become proactive and take our own advice? How about instead of saying, I don't know, honey, when our children ask us a simple question about, what is 10 divided by 3? We look in the math book with them together to find that chapter that would help them solve the problem? How about instead of saying, I'm tired, when our children ask us to help them with reading a book they don't understand, how about we sacrifice the energy we have left to read from syllable to syllable to make sure they understand what they are reading? How about instead of giving death glares to the kids who throw up gang signs, repping the Crips or the Bloods, sagging their pants, saying that we be bugging, watching their comrades fall into pools of tainted, cold, unwanted blood, and they have given up on the system because it has given up on them? We tell them, you are not alone, but don't let the system make you give in. How about instead of telling that girl who got pregnant at 14 years old with her boyfriend out of sight, getting jilted by her peers, and hearing parents taunt her round belly and viciously whisper, that girl is going nowhere. I hope my daughter never becomes like her. We should give her the courage to be proud, to become a mother, and to never give up, and to never drop out of school because she wouldn't want to wish the same fate for her daughter. And that getting an education as a single mother is not an impossible feat. How about instead of looking at the inner city, the urban, the poor, and the undereducated, with the crack-addicted mother and the absentee father, who stay in a cockroach farm and saying to them, there's no hope for them. We've done all we can do. We should look for the solution that no one dares to try, even though it may not work. What matters is that those kids know that we haven't given up on them yet, or not ever. How about instead of letting the other kids make fun of that 12-year-old boy who gets picked on every day because every time he reads aloud, his dyslexia and his severe stutter get the best of him to the point where he tries to draw a red smile across his neck. And how about we stop the madness and tell those kids to kick rocks because that 12-year-old boy is going to make it somewhere. How about we stop the hurt and encourage the broken? Yes. Every child in this world has the power we know they have. But if we spend all this time and our energy on who's to blame for not bringing out that child's potential, then we are all to blame. Yes. Think about the children. Thinking is just the first step. Helping and pushing the children to be who they want to be is the next step we have to take. Please give it up one more time for Autumn. Up next, we have my beautiful, my lovely, the most wonderful co-MC ever in the entire world, Miss Alex.
I just played a trick, now I'm short. Magic! Alright. Just eat. It took me 10 years to learn how to mourn you properly. It takes a few all-nighters clutching a bottle of vodka like a holy cross to realize that there's no turning back to catch you now. That there's no way to warn you, you're gonna grow up dead at 20. You once single-handedly slayed sharp-toothed pirates in playgrounds, freed dinosaurs from their concrete cages, and whispered stories to the moonlight seeping through your blinds. You would sit for hours beneath the outstretched arms of the elm with your eyes closed, thinking that if you tried hard enough, those big brown orbs would tumble backwards and you'd finally be able to see how your mind worked. You once were able to hum to fairies nestled within petals of gardenias, and now you see the tricks that light plays on us. Because fairies can't poof pain away. And that all that faith, trust, and pixie dust can only let you fly so high. And when your wings lick the sun, it's not your father who tells you that you've gone too far. It's a rejection letter. It's the person beside you getting another award. It's being referred to as the fat friend. It's the knowledge that no matter how hard you're worth, you're only worth 77 cents on the dollar. You'll spend your formative years polishing brass to look like gold, but there's not enough spit and shine in the world to make that shit real. I wish I could go back to you, to tell you that your mind is miraculous, and instead of polishing, speak to your fairy friends and make that shit gold. I wish I could go back and tell you that the first boy to call you pretty isn't your first love, because girl, you have so much more to offer. I wish I could go back and tell you to keep daydreaming, because life is too short to live in reality. Love endlessly and openly, catch friends like fireflies and hold on to them tight and be enlightened. Live for moments like chocolate melting on your tongue, or the rush you feel finally hitting that note in your car solo. Learn to love yourself fully, because you are worth more than an empty compliment. I just wish someone had told me that. But you grow up, you're dead at 20, and now, at 21, I'm preparing for a resurrection. Oh
my goodness, that was so good. One more time. And keep that going for Mr. Lee.
There once was a man from Peru. This is The Muse is Upon Me. Much thanks to Dom DeLuise and Mel Brooks. Ours is a relationship of mutual ignorance, and I ain't claiming no innocence. We dance with each other often, but we're not mutually exclusive. When we do touch, however, the feeling is electric. Whether it be by day or night, She tempts me with a gentle caress, asking me to take her further, in public and private, no matter how hectic. Her quizzical gaze asks me to look deeper. There's always more there. Those who see me dancing this way wonder why I am not confined, too eccentric. Should I ignore her? Can I ignore her? This mischievous little pixie whose influence has no rhyme or reason. Would it still be me without her constant tick? This is not a choice for today. The me of tomorrow will not likely choose either. She and I will sing our song and dance our dance. To be without her, I'd be a candle with no wick.
And now I'm tall again! Whoa! Wow! Okay, anyway, the next poet that's coming up, I've grown really close to over the course of the semester. I've had a couple of classes with him, but that's what this class does to you. You become personal with people. Papa Matt, he is like no other today. Anyway, so the next poet up is Brendan Lynch.
This is that money coming from over there. So, this may not look like it fits me, but it does. I am broken, but not in the way that you think. My cane is just an accessory to me. It's my mind that's the true issue. The truth is, I'm scared. Being like this is hell. But what happens when I gain everything back, just to lose it all over again? The first time, I put on a brave face, never letting my loved ones know I was seconds away from giving it all up, so I would never experience my grinding, popping, aching, blistering pain again. My brain started to cook in my skull, serving my thoughts the most poisonous stew. I would gag down every piece of fear-stained flesh until I was forced to throw them up in tears, when silence allowed my mind to boil and the real problem to surface. Because my biggest obstacle was not a disease that my own father cannot pronounce, a word that at best causes quizzical looks, and at worst caused so-called friends to run in terror. It's been years and I haven't conquered a single fear, that every step could result in breaking me further, that my support system's elastic patience will finally wear out, that no person will find my broken body attractive enough to love my crippled mind. I am broken in ways that narcotics and exercise cannot fix. I am broken in a way that makes me hate every second of introspection. I am broken because I will not let you see inside of me. Worst of all, I am broken because everyone is more scared than I am to deal with my poison.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Anyway, so now I'm emotional. Holy crap. So anyway, so the next poet, you've heard from her earlier today, and she's just absolutely amazing, and I love co-emceeing with her because we're like the same person. It's fantastic. So give it up for Lydia.
Let's not get carried away. So I have decided to read a new poem. Very excited. Some of you have heard it, but it's called Average American Woman. With my body proportions, I've never fit into a box. As a child, gangly, too skinny, with bones poking from skin in all the wrong places. As I grew, I accumulated padding, puberty, curves, freshman 15, deployment 20, the moving 12 times 10. The lumps and curves filling in all the places they needed to go. Now I'm stuck between two warring factions. Too fat to be a skinny girl, and too skinny to be a fat girl, and too ashamed to wear a swimsuit. I write poems about my body shame and I'm told, oh, honey, you're not really fat. Well, tell that to every rack of clothing lying unworn, sniggering as they stick to my thighs. I see glances from real fat girls, telling me that I can't write about body shame at a size 14. No, ma'am, you're too skinny for this game. Then the size 2s glance me up and down as I'm in my jogging shoes, wondering how long it's gonna take my spandex to snap. My body proportions are not extreme. I will never be in the fat girl, skinny girl, war-torn club. It's just me, the average American woman with the cup size to show for it, doing crunches every day to fight my own body. I claim the shame felt in coitus when your love bell gets rung, reverberating fat roll bell tolls all the way through the night. The heart leap when he sees stretch marks and traces them with love-dipped fingers. The day you look in the mirror and you see a friend, not an enemy. I am the average American woman. Where's my cover spread? Where's my Dove commercial? Where's my slam verse about what it's like to live inside of these bones? I am the average American woman's 36C, if you're asking, with skin a little looser and belly a little bit more present. My sisters, we are women. Queer, straight, transgendered or not, fat and skinny alike, ain't nothing average about us. So here's our poem. And keep it going because the next poet is really awesome. Amazing. It is Jackie.
Thank you for getting me through this. Thank you for almost letting me feel that I couldn't turn back. Not with you watching, not like a hawk, like a curious bird on a telephone wire. Feet wrapped around, not feeling the shock, unafraid. As I gazed up at you, at times in near awe, but never understanding how you held me up. A tree, an open prairie I climbed, branch after branch, but as I reached the top, the branch crumbled. It brought me back to the place years ago where I stopped loving myself. I needed your laughter. I needed your voice in my phone, giving me hope, that tight hold scooping me up to a place that made me think I was beginning to feel anything at all. I needed to get off the bathroom floor like a bad cliche to stop my screaming thoughts and open up the alveoli of my lungs and allow air back in that selfish moment when I never wanted to. I needed to step outside the description I wrote for myself, the one that told me how to act and who to be, what to feel and where to run, until you tripped me. I didn't fall into your arms, I could have. Like a shooting star across the sky, I flew. But you knew. You knew. You refuse to chase shooting stars that burn to the touch. You wait until I'm cold. You take that cold rock, wrap it tightly in the heat of your hands, and throw it back into the sky, watching it skid out of your peripheral vision. You wanted to melt the iceberg. Before it destructs, be the hero that moves on and saves lives, not stay in mind. But I can't. I can't go flying like stars, falling like rocks, and melting like icebergs. I can't move with the day, not question each thing. It's not in my character. I faked that I felt like I didn't feel until it actually happened. Now I don't feel pain. I'm off the floor, but I soar light and I soar fast and I fall soft. I want to fall hard. Fall hard to the earth so much that I crack and I shatter. With every sliver I live, I feel. Perhaps I die, but I will love.
All right, so many awesome poets in our class right now. There's just 2 more, which kind of makes me really sad because I know there's so many other ones out there. I'm not looking at any particular row, but no, I'm kidding. So the next poet, she's absolutely amazing, and I told her multiple times, I wish I could do what you do because what she does is just absolutely natural and perfect. So give it up for Rachel Lovejoy.
I don't like that.
What?
As children, we give away all our love and worth for free, never realizing the cost or the price of precious years we will inevitably waste trying to buy them back. And why is it that as we get older, we slowly learn to unlove ourselves? As if having pride in your being is something to be ashamed of, we spend our time competing for who loves themselves the most. Small breasts, thick thighs, addiction, sex, short, tall, skinny, fat, bad at math and science, ain't never gonna be a doctor. No imagination, disabilities, abilities. We swallow the pill of worthlessness and smile as if it goes down easily. You see, we're fueling our unlove by shaming each other and ourselves until all we see when we look in the mirror are the broken, belittled leftovers of a child we used to love but no longer recognize. In my mirror, all I can see are my innumerable failures that hold my self-love hostage as I wait for the jury, judge, and executioner to pardon my wrongs and leave me feeling right, but I never do. Instead, I spend all of my time counting my blessings and forgetting that I am one of them. Rather, I'm remembering that I am worthless, or at least that's all I've ever known. I had a mom who told me unconditional love doesn't exist, and a dad who proved it. Who couldn't be bothered on the days when I needed an ear and not a lecture. As if the last thing I want is to just be held in my brokenness, but no. Instead, I was left with no kind words and no comfort, because that requires forethought and selflessness. So I end up spending all my time feeling guilty for sins I haven't even committed yet. Society always pointing its handful of hypocrisy at me, yelling at me, telling me I'm never going to be good enough to be loved and I'm faithless enough to believe it. I spend my nights praying to a God I shy away from, who I'm told wants to love me, because none of my sins, past or future, will ever be reason enough for him to have been held up on that cross. So yeah, maybe I'm living my whole life like unconditional love is an intangible tonic of grace and forgiveness. Or maybe that's just another lie that they've always fed us. But the truth is, no one is ever going to love us better than the way that we love ourselves.
So Alex and my original plan for our MC quips, we were gonna look up the word feels in all the languages. We couldn't find it. It's a real problem. Our last poet, for the class, we just get really excited. It's gonna be really good. This is a really talented poet. It's Miss Karis.
This poem's called Bang. Bang! You break down the door. I scream and run. You throw me down. My head hits the floor. Your psychotic blank gaze creates this waste, this void, this dead space. My brain is slamming against my skull, ears bleeding, eyes crying, warm darkness. Blood rushing over me. Bang! Your drug-induced state creates this hate. You ask me where the rest of your drugs are. You'll never find them. I'll never told you that I flushed them. Furniture crashes. Your fist kisses my face again. Crack! Your hand on my neck. I'm gasping. I'm a fish out of water. The room is spinning. I can't breathe. Why is this happening again? You were king last night in our bed. Like so many times before, you become a drug-crazed maniac, out for drugs, out for blood, a killer. Your words are a loaded gun. Your hands are deadly weapons. Blood gushing out of my head. My face is caked with my blood and my tears and your spit. My hair is stuck to my face and I can't see. With my last sigh of breath, warm darkness, take me away. Bang!
And so we go out with the perverse proverbial bang.
Bang!
That was funny. Can you please give it up one more time for all the classes?
Alrighty, so right now we're gonna take like a 5-minute break. So if you haven't already written on your leaves, finish that up.
If you haven't signed up for the open mic, do it. Sign up. Do it.
Do it. Okay.
Do it. Or we will sign you up.
Yeah.
We will. No, we won't.
No, we're not mean. And then or like enjoy one of the many brilliant art pieces